St. John Cassian, Introductory Note. St. John Cassian, often styled Cassian the Roman in Greek sources, was born around the year 360, probably in Roman Scythia. As a young man he joined a monastery in Bethlehem, but around 385 or 386, he traveled with his friend Germanos to Egypt, where he remained until 399, becoming a disciple of Evagrios. During 401 to 405, he was at Constantinople, where he was an ordained deacon. Here he became a disciple and ardent supporter of St. John Chrysostom. In 405 he traveled to the west, remaining for some years in Rome, and then moving to Gaul. Either in Rome or in Gaul he was ordained priest. Around 415 he founded two monasteries near Marseille, one for men and the other for women. His two main works are the Institutes and the Conferences, both written in Latin around the years 425 to 428. In these, Cassian summarized the spiritual teaching which he had received in Egypt, adapting it to the somewhat different conditions of the West. His writings exercised a formative influence on Latin monasticism and are especially commended in the Rule of Saint Benedict. Cassian died around 435 and is commemorated in the Orthodox Church as a saint, his feast day falling on 29th of February. Saint Nicodemus included in the Philokalia, a Greek summary of certain parts of Cassian's main writings. The first text on the 8 vices is taken from the Institutes, books 5 through 12. The second text on the Holy Fathers of Scetis and non-discrimination comes from the Conferences, books 1 and 2. In both cases, the Greek version considerably abbreviates the Latin original. And in the footnote it says there is a full English translation of the Institutes and the Conferences by E.C.S. Gibson. On the 8 Vices, written for Bishop Castor. Having composed the treatise on Cenobitic institutions, I am now once more encouraged by your prayers to attempt to write something about the 8 vices: gluttony, unchastity, avarice, anger, dejection, listlessness, self-esteem, and pride. On control of the stomach. I shall speak first about control of the stomach, the opposite to gluttony, and about how to fast and what and how much to eat. I shall say nothing of my own account, but only what I have received from the Holy Fathers. They have not given us only a single rule for fasting, or a single standard and measure for eating, because not everyone has the same strength, age, illness, or delicacy of body create differences. But they have given us all a single goal, to avoid overeating and the filling of our bellies. They also found a day's fast to be more beneficial and a greater help toward purity than one extending over a period of 3, 4, or even 7 days. Someone who fasts for too long, they say, often ends up by eating too much food. The result is that at times the body becomes enervated through undue lack of food and sluggish over its spiritual exercises, while at other times, weighed down by the mass of food it has eaten, it makes the soul listless and slack. They also found that the eating of greens or pulse did not agree with everyone, and that not everyone could live on dry bread. One man, they said, could eat 2 pounds of dry bread and still be hungry, while another might eat a pound, or only 6 ounces, and be satisfied. As I said, the Fathers have handed down a single, basic rule of self-control. Do not be deceived by the filling of the belly. Proverbs 24, verse 15. Or be led astray by the pleasure of the palate. It is not only the variety of foodstuffs which kindles the fiery darts of unchastity, but also their quantity. Whatever the kind of food with which it is filled, the belly engenders the seeds of profligacy. It is not only too much wine that besots our mind. Too much water or too much of anything makes it drowsy and stupefied. The Sodomites were destroyed not because of too much wine or too much of other foods, but because of a surfeit of bread, as the prophet tells us. Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 49.